In the heart of ancient Rome, love was never simple. It was a game of power, seduction, and sometimes poison. Among the noble families, where marriages were arranged for politics and status, true affection was rare. But desire could be bought or brewed. In the back alleys of Rome, old herbalists and secret witches sold tiny vials filled with shimmering liquids. They whispered promises that one sip could make a lover faithful forever. Wealthy Roman women, desperate for affection, would mix drops of these potions into wine goblets or honey cakes. But the ingredients belladonna, henbane, and mandrake were toxic. A single mistake meant death instead of devotion. Rumors spread of men who became pale and trembling after tasting their lover's kiss, speaking sweet words before collapsing in their lover's arms. Some women were caught and executed. Others became legends of beauty and danger. To love in Rome was to risk everything. Each embrace could be eternal, passion, or a fatal curse. For the Romans, the line between affection and annihilation was written not in the stars, but in the cup they shared in the lavish villas of Rome, where marble floors shone like mirrors. Love was both worshipped and feared. Roman women were taught how to charm with words, but some preferred the silent power of poison.
Hidden among their cosmetics were filters, secret mixtures said to awaken passion or destroy rivals.
Elite women often visited herbalists who knew the secrets of nightshade and wolfsbane. They didn't ask for death, they asked for devotion. A few drops slipped into a lover's wine could make him lose all reason, consumed by obsession. But poison was unpredictable. One drop too much, and love became lifelessness. Roman historians wrote of Julia, a senator's daughter, who loved a gladiator. When he tried to leave her, she poured a love draught into his drink. He declared eternal devotion and died the same night. Julia was never tried, for no one dared accuse her. In Rome, passion was power, and women wielded it like a sword. For them, the choice was simple. If love could not be won, it would be conquered by poison. In a world ruled by gods and emperors, the heart was the one realm people still sought to control.
Roman alchemists promised potions that could capture affection, mixing love with venom in the same bowl.
These mixtures, called philtro, contained crushed mandrake roots, poppy resin, snake blood, and traces of mercury. Each ingredient had a purpose to charm the mind, heat the blood, or cloud judgment.
Lovers believed that to drink such a potion was
to surrender one's soul to another.
Some of these potions worked too well. Men became feverish, muttering their lover's name even in dreams. Others became violent, consumed by jealousy and confusion. Many died without realizing that the same hands that caressed them had prepared their end. One Roman poet wrote, "Love is the sweetest poison." He was right. In Rome, enchantment and death shared the same recipe. To be loved deeply was beautiful, but, in the wrong hands, that beauty could kill. In a world ruled by gods and emperors, the heart was the one realm people still sought to control. Roman alchemists promised potions that could capture affection, mixing love with venom in the same bowl. These mixtures, called philtro, contained crushed mandrake roots, poppy resin, snake blood, and traces of mercury. Each ingredient had a purpose to charm the mind, heat the blood, or cloud judgment. Lovers believed that to drink such a potion was to surrender one's soul to another. Some of these potions worked too well. Men became feverish, muttering their lover's name, even in dreams. Others became violent, consumed by jealousy and confusion. Many died without realizing that the same hands that caressed them had prepared their end. One Roman poet wrote, "Love is the sweetest poison." He was right. In Rome, enchantment and death shared the same recipe. To be loved deeply was beautiful, but, in the wrong hands, that beauty could kill. For Romans, love was never gentle. It was a battlefield of hearts, ruled by desire and danger. While some prayed to Venus, others turned to the darker arts. Across the empire, women sought secret love potions said to guarantee passion, loyalty, and eternal desire. Witches from the countryside sold these mixtures in clay jars, promising that a single drop could make a man fall hopelessly in love. Their ingredients were drawn from the wild mandrake for obsession, henbane for madness, and a touch of toad venom for control. But these potions were unstable. Some made men sick with feverish love, whispering their beloved's name until death. Others left victims paralyzed, trapped between life and death. The Roman Senate once banned these amorous brews, fearing that poison, not persuasion, would soon rule love itself. Still, lovers continued to risk it all. For in Rome, it was better to die loved than live forgotten. Each sip of a potion was a gamble between affection and annihilation in the glittering courts of ancient Rome. Beauty could command armies, but love could destroy them. Beneath the marble pillars and gold-lined baths, secret apothecaries sold forbidden elixirs known as bindings of the heart. These potions promise to make any lover loyal, but often delivered death. The recipes were guarded like treasure. Belladonna for seduction, hemlock for silence, poppy for dreams, and mercury for control. Courtesans, priestesses, even empresses used them, believing they could enslave the emotions of men in power. One famous story tells of Livia Drusilla, the wife of Emperor Augustus, who was rumored to have slipped special mixtures into her husband's meals, not to kill him, but to keep him utterly devoted. Whether true or not, such whispers filled Roman halls with fear. The empire outlawed these brews, calling them magic of the wicked, yet they thrived in secret. For love in Rome was never pure, it was possession disguised as passion.
Those who drank for love often swallowed their own doom.
In ancient Rome, love was celebrated in poetry, but feared in practice. Behind every elegant feast and whispered confession, there were secrets steeped in poison. Roman lovers believed that passion could be created or destroyed through the right blend of herbs. Elite women often consulted old herbalists, women said to have descended from witches of Thessaly.
These mystics brewed draughts of desire using aconite, opium, and ground scorpion tails.
They promised a simple dream. Drink this, and he will love you forever. But forever often came sooner than expected. One tale tells of Flavia, the wife of a Roman general. Jealous of her husband's mistress, she laced his wine with a love charm. Within hours, he grew feverish, calling her name with tears in his eyes before his heart stopped. Flavia was found weeping beside his body, whispering, "At least he loved me at the end." To the Romans, love and death often shared the same bed. Their passion burned so brightly that it consumed everything, even life itself. In a world ruled by men, Roman women found other ways to gain control.
While senators debated in marble halls, their wives and mistresses turned to the power of the garden.
Herbs became their silent allies, each leaf holding the promise of love, war, ruin. They learned that belladonna made the eyes shine, mandrake heightened desire, and parsley could calm jealousy. In secret, they mixed these plants into perfumes and drinks, whispering prayers to Venus as they stirred. A faithful man was a rare treasure in Rome, and many women were willing to risk his life to keep his love. Stories spread of women who used binding draughts to make men obsessed, their thoughts filled only with the woman who'd poisoned them. Some men became violent in their devotion. Others wasted away, smiling as they died. In the end, the herbs that promised love gave Rome a darker legacy, passion twisted by power. For these women, love wasn't something to find, it was something to control. Every corner of Rome held a secret. Behind the laughter of banquets and the music of festivals, lovers exchanged glances and poisons. Apothecaries along the Tiber River sold tiny vials said to contain the power of the goddess Venus herself. The truth, however, was far more sinister. These love potions were crafted from deadly herbs nightshade, wolfsbane, and powdered toad. They promised eternal devotion, but more often brought agony. Some lovers grew delirious, believing they saw gods. Others fell into endless sleep, their last words murmured in adoration.
One historian wrote of a senator's mistress who made such a potion for her lover.
But the bottle was mixed by mistake into her own drink.
She died, clutching his hand, whispering, "Now we will love forever."
Rome never outlawed love potions because it could never prove their crime. The victims died smiling, and the poisoners wept convincingly. In a city that worshipped passion, death by love was seen as the most romantic fate of all. Not all who sought love potions were cruel, many were simply desperate. The streets of Rome were filled with women abandoned by lovers, men betrayed by mistresses, and slaves dreaming of affection beyond their rank. All turned to love spells and charms when hope failed. Magic scrolls written in blood were buried under doorsteps. Wax figures shaped like lovers were melted in moonlight. And potions made from herbs, ashes, and sometimes human hair were swallowed in trembling faith. But love is a dangerous force, and magic rarely obeyed its master.
One slave woman named Tullia gave her master a potion meant to make him kind.
Instead, he became violent, striking her before falling dead at her feet. She was executed, but her story spread like wildfire through the empire, a warning whispered by every lonely heart. In Rome, love was not a prayer. It was a spell. And when that spell broke, it left behind not lovers but ghosts. In the grand palaces of Rome, where marble reflected candlelight and silk brushed the floor, love was a weapon as sharp as any sword. Beneath the glitter of banquets and feasts lay the true cost of passion poison. Powerful women kept servants who knew how to mix it. They added a few drops of aconite or belladonna to a lover's cup, whispering, "Drink to us." At first, the victim's heart raced with feverish desire. Then came the trembling, the sweating, the silence. But what made Roman romance truly toxic was not just the herbs, it was the intent. To love meant to possess. To possess meant to control. And when control was lost, death felt like the only victory left. Writers of the time warned of such dark eros, a love so consuming it devoured both souls. Yet still, the Romans chased it. For them, it was better to die in passion than live without it. In Rome, even love wore the mask of poison. Love in ancient Rome wasn't just a matter of the heart, it was an act of sorcery. Beneath the grandeur of temples and feasts,
Men and women turned to secret rituals to win affection, bind loyalty, or destroy rivals.
from the lowest slaves to the wives of senators, everyone wanted control over love. In hidden rooms lit by oil lamps, love magicians known as Veneficae performed dangerous ceremonies. They burned herbs like mandrake and sage, whispered incantations to Venus, and mixed powders of crushed gemstones with serpent venom. These potions were said to open the soul of the drinker, making them fall hopelessly in love. But magic came at a cost. Those who used it often suffered nightmares, sudden illness, or madness. It was said that the gods of love, angered by mortal interference, punished both the giver and the receiver. Still, the Romans could not resist. They believed love was worth any curse. In the shadows of Rome, seduction and sorcery danced hand in hand, each spell cast with hope, each kiss carrying the weight of fate.
The streets of ancient Rome whispered of love potions so powerful they could turn devotion into obsession.
These elixirs, sold in tiny glass bottles by herbalists, were said to make even the coldest heart burn with uncontrollable desire.
Made from wild herbs like henbane, opium poppy, and wolf's blood resin, the potions were dangerously unstable.
They clouded the mind, weakened reason, and heightened every emotion. Men who drank them often became reckless, violent, or delirious slaves to the one who had given them the potion. One famous tale tells of Claudia, a merchant's daughter, who fell for a Roman soldier.
When he ignored her, she bribed a witch to brew a potion of binding affection.
The soldier drank it and became completely obsessed. He followed her everywhere, refusing to eat or sleep without her presence. Within weeks, he collapsed, whispering her name until his final breath. Claudia was found weeping beside him, clutching the empty vial. The Romans learned a bitter truth. In trying to control love, they only created chaos. Passion could be awakened but never contained. Ancient Rome was a city of gardens, and every garden hid secrets. Among roses and olives grew herbs more dangerous than any sword. To most, they were healing plants, but to those who knew their true purpose, they were tools of desire and domination. Nightshade gave beauty, widening the pupils and darkening the eyes. Mandrake root caused hallucinations of love and lust. Henbane made the body tremble and the mind surrender, when blended with honey and wine. These herbs could create illusions of affection so strong that victims believed they were truly in love.
Wealthy Roman women used these mixtures to keep powerful men close. Some used them out of passion, others out of survival.
A wife whose husband strayed could not divorce him, but she could make him dependent on her touch. The herbs worked.
For a while.
But over time, they left their mark faint trembling, fevered dreams, and sudden death. Rome's gardens may have looked divine, but among their flowers grew the roots of obsession and ruin. While poets sang of Cupid's arrows, real love in ancient Rome was crafted by human hands and often poisoned ones. Matchmakers, known as conjugatresses, didn't just arrange marriages. They also provided enhancers, secret potions to make couples more affectionate or compliant. For a price, these matchmakers offered their clients a mix of love and manipulation. They used crushed beetles, rose oil, honey, and traces of deadly herbs. Each potion promised devotion, yet the results were unpredictable. Some couples grew inseparable. Others sickened within days. One story tells of a noble woman who hired a matchmaker to make her husband fall back in love. The woman poured the potion into his evening wine. He kissed her passionately that night, but by morning, he was dead. The matchmaker disappeared, and no one ever found her again. To the Romans, these matchmakers were both adored and feared. They dealt not in romance, but in power selling love like a weapon. And in a world where affection meant influence, poison became the most profitable trade of all. In the Empire of Rome, loyalty was as fragile as glass. Husbands chased courtesans, wives plotted revenge, and jealousy ruled the chambers of marble villas. For many Roman women, the solution came not from the heart but from the apothecary's shelf. Poison was their secret weapon. They mixed it with perfumes, meals, or when just enough to cause weakness, confusion, or dependence. A husband who drank it regularly would grow pale and sick, clinging to his wife as the only one who could heal him. One legend tells of Cornelia, a senator's wife, who feared her husband's mistress. She fed him a small dose of aconite each day, disguised in honeyed milk. He became too frail to leave her side, professing love even as his strength faded. When he finally died, Cornelia wept before the Senate, swearing it was heartbreak, not poison. Roman women were not helpless, they were strategic. In a world ruled by men, they used poison to rule the hearts. Loyalty, after all, could be manufactured, one deadly drop at a time. In Rome, passion was the greatest luxury and the deadliest addiction. Behind every golden banquet and moonlit confession lay a dangerous secret. Love was not always earned. Sometimes it was engineered. Through whispered spells and deadly potions, lovers turned to poison to control fate itself.
Wealthy women carried small glass bottles hidden in their silk robes, filled with shimmering liquid said to inflame desire.
Soldiers returning from war drank from goblets laced with mysterious herbs to forget pain and feel passion again. But these mixtures made from hemlock, opium, and wild nightshade blurred the line between love and death. One tragic tale tells of Lucy, a Roman widow who gave her new lover a drink of devotion. He kissed her hand, swore eternal love, and fell lifeless moments later. Lucilla claimed it was a mistake, but the rumor spread like fire. She had loved him too deeply. In ancient Rome, to love passionately was to play with poison. Each romance burned bright, but few survived. For the Romans, love was never soft. It was a battle where even kisses could kill. Far from the marble palaces of Rome, deep in the countryside, lived women feared and revered witches who claimed to command the gods of love. They brewed potions said to make any heart surrender, mixing herbs and venom under the light of the moon. These witches used mandrake roots shaped like human forms, crushed lizards, and drops of snake venom to create what they called ematorima, drink of madness and love. They sold it to desperate lovers for fortunes in gold. One legend tells of Sabina, a noble woman who sought a witch's help to win back her unfaithful husband. The witch warned her, "What you desire will cost more than love." Sabina ignored her, poured the potion into her husband's wine and waited. By morning, he was on his knees, whispering her name in delirium. Days later, his mind broke completely. He lived but not as the man he once was. Sabina spent her life caring for him, haunted by what she'd done. In Rome, even love's victory could become a curse. The witch's brew granted passion, but at the cost of sanity itself. In a city obsessed with beauty, pleasure, and indulgence, the Romans believed the body was a temple but one that could be manipulated. From emperors to slaves, everyone sought aphrodisiac substances that promised endless desire and boundless pleasure. They consumed honey mixed with pepper and goat blood, or figs soaked in rare herbs. Some even ate powdered pearls or drank wine laced with crocodile gall, believing it awakened lust. But among these strange concoctions hid true poisons: belladonna, wolfsbane, and cantharides, the infamous Spanish fly. It was said that Emperor Caligula himself hosted feasts where guests unknowingly drank from goblets tainted with aphrodisiac poisons, just to watch their frenzied behavior. What began as laughter often ended in screaming. These potions could stir the heart but also stop it. Still, Romans continued their dangerous experiments, chasing eternal pleasure even as it destroyed them. For them, passion was proof of power, and danger only made desire sweeter. In Rome, love was never pure. It was a chemical reaction between life and death. Love in ancient Rome was not gentle, it was possession. And those who couldn't win affection turned to alchemy. Potions brewed in secret were said to create not love, but obsession and all-consuming hunger that erased reason and morality alike. The recipes were guarded by witches who sold them to the desperate and the jealous. Ingredients included the ashes of sparrows, human hair, and the roots of mandrake. When mixed with wine, the potion caused hallucinations of affection so vivid that victims believed their lover divine. But obsession came at a price. Some lovers became violent, attacking rivals and crying out their beloved's name in madness. Others starved themselves, unable to think of anything else.
One Roman poet described such a man. He drank the stars in her eyes and drowned. In time,
The Senate tried to ban these potions, fearing they would destroy noble families. But how do you outlaw love? The obsession continued, hidden in whispers and shadows.
The Romans had discovered the cruelest truth of all: what we love most has the power to destroy us.
Under the golden glow of Roman candles, lovers performed rituals the public never saw. Behind the beauty of their feasts and the poetry of their declarations lay a terrifying truth. Love was often built on lies and poison. In secret chambers, women bathed in milk mixed with herbs of desire, while men wore amulets soaked in potions of control. They exchanged vows over cups of wine laced with small amounts of toxins, believing that to share poison was to share souls. It was both a ritual of trust and a test of devotion. But many such ceremonies ended in tragedy. Some couples died holding each other, victims of their own symbolic gesture. Others survived changed forever, haunted by visions and sickness. Roman writers like Ovid hinted at these forbidden rites in poetry, warning that love and poison were siblings, born from the same madness. Yet the people of Rome didn't care. They wanted to feel everything: passion, pain, even death, so long as it felt like love. In the end, every kiss, every cup, and every vow carried the same risk. In Rome, love itself was the most dangerous poison of all. In ancient Rome, beauty alone wasn't enough to win a man. Heart cleverness was the true art of seduction. Roman women mastered it through nature's most dangerous gifts: herbs, hidden behind the scent of roses and incense. They carried secret mixtures known only to them and their servants. These elixirs of temptation were brewed from wild herbs gathered at midnight mandrake to awaken desire, saffron to inspire warmth, and belladonna to make their eyes shine unnaturally bright. Some were safe, others deadly, yet every drop promised power.
The most whispered tale was of Aurelia, a noble woman famed for her beauty and her unbroken string of lovers.
They said her perfume contained venom so subtle that her admirers became weak with sickness. None could resist her, and none survived her for long. Roman men adored the danger. Women admired her cunning. In a society where women were silenced, Aurelia found her voice in poison. She didn't just win, love she commanded it. And in Rome, that was the most intoxicating weapon of all. In the glittering world of emperors and marble halls, Roman love stories often ended in tragedy. Beneath the poems of Ovid and the songs of passion lay a darker reality. Love could kill.
Romans believed that strong emotions, lust, jealousy, devotion were gifts from the gods.
But when those feelings grew too fierce, mortals tried to control them with herbs and magic. A drop of aconite could make a rival vanish. A sip of mandrake wine could make a husband obedient.
One haunting legend tells of Decimus, a young nobleman who drank a potion meant to make him irresistible.
At first, it worked. Women fell for him wherever he went. But soon, his skin burned, his heart raced uncontrollably, and within days he died, still smiling.
His servants buried him with the words, "He died of love." In Rome, people said passion was a fire sent by Venus, but poison gave it fuel. And when that fire grew too bright, it consumed both the lover and the beloved.
Every Roman love story carried a shadow.
Behind the marble statues of lovers embracing stood countless graves of those who mistook poison for passion. Love was not just romance, it was power. And power in Rome was always deadly.
Apothecaries sold mixtures labeled as sweet oils, but meant for control.
A noblewoman could make a husband gentle or gone depending on how many drops she poured into his wine. Even poets, like Ovid, hinted at the truth in verses about the kiss that kills. One story tells of Marcellus, a young poet who fell in love with a senator's wife. She promised to leave her husband, but instead gave Marcellus a potion to seal their love forever. He drank it willingly. Hours later, his final poem was found beside Hymen.
Rome's passion was unmatched, but so was its cruelty.
For every song of love, there was a whisper of death. And in that city of marble and blood, the two were often the same. In a world built on loyalty and betrayal, Romans found that the line between devotion and deceit was drawn in a cup of wine. Behind the grand feasts and the soft words of lovers, poison flowed as freely as poetry. Courtesans used it to control their patrons. Wives used it to punish betrayal. Even slaves, desperate for freedom, used it to make their masters sick, with love or simply dead. Love potions were more common than perfume, each vial promising control over another's soul. But betrayal was always waiting. Many lovers who shared potions together discovered too late that only one of them would survive. A famous story tells of a couple who drank from the same cup during a secret wedding. The bride had poisoned the drink to kill her jealous rival but forgot which goblet was hers. In the end, both died before sunrise. Their story spread through Rome as a warning. In the empire of passion, trust was the greatest poison of all. Roman life revolved around indulgence, food, pleasure, and love. But love was never left to chance. The Romans studied it like a science, blending herbs and poisons in pursuit of perfect desire. They believed each plant had a spirit, thyme for courage, mint for passion, mandrake for lust, and nightshade for control. Lovers mixed them into honeyed wine, whispering prayers to Venus before sharing the cup. Some claimed it brought eternal loyalty. Others never lived to tell the tale. Physicians warned that these brews blurred the line between ecstasy and death. But few listened. The thrill of danger made love even sweeter. One Roman philosopher wrote, "We seek the flame that burns us. For only in the burning do we feel alive." That was the essence of Roman romance, destructive and utterly intoxicating. In the end, their greatest discovery was not in herbs or poison,
But in the truth they revealed, love, like death, was inevitable and often just as fatal.
in the lavish gardens of Rome. Love was both a pleasure and a peril. Behind silk curtains and candlelit feasts, lovers exchanged kisses that carried more than passion, they carried death. It began with Livia, the wife of a powerful senator. Her husband was known for his cruelty, yet adored by Rome. One night, she prepared a vial of Venus's gift, a love potion said to restore affection. But the apothecary had misjudged the dose. When she kissed her husband after dinner, his lips turned blue. Within moments, he was gone dead in her arms, poisoned by her love. The scandal shook the empire. Livia disappeared, rumored to have fled to Egypt, where she lived as a priestess of Isis. But her legend endured. The phrase tainted kiss became a warning whispered among Roman nobles. Never trust a lover, as slips too deeply. In a city obsessed with beauty and passion, love was the sweetest poison. And in Rome, even a kiss could kill.
Roman women were taught that beauty could conquer men, but some learned that sorcery could enslave them.
They wore shimmering gowns, bathed in scented oils, and adorned themselves with charms made from herbs, bones, and blood. These were not ornaments, they were spells. A sprig of myrtle to attract affection, a drop of hemlock to inspire obedience. Many claimed their power came from Venus herself,
But those who misused it often met tragic fates.
One tale tells of Selene, a priestess who created a love charm for a general named Cassius. He became obsessed, so consumed by her that he abandoned his duties and angered the emperor. When he fell from power, he blamed her sorcery. Selene was executed in the Forum, her amulets burned before her eyes.
Yet, in death, Cassius couldn't escape her magic.
Witnesses swore they saw him whisper her name every night until his final breath. In Rome, beauty could inspire devotion, but in the hands of those who knew the dark arts, it could destroy entire lives. To the Romans, love was a force to be mastered.
They didn't wait for Cupid's arrows. They brewed their own.
Using herbs, roots, and whispered incantations, they claimed to control the very chemistry of passion. Apothecaries sold herbs of desire to noble women and slaves alike. Wild thyme to spark attraction, basil to bring fidelity, and wormwood to inflame jealousy. These weren't harmless remedies. They altered minds, weakened bodies, and sometimes erased free will entirely. A famous physician, Scribonius Largus, once wrote that many Romans die not of sickness, but of love prepared in cups. He wasn't exaggerating. The Empress Messalina was rumored to have her servants crush herbs into her rivals' perfumes. Those who wore them became sickly, their beauty fading within days, leaving her the center of every man's attention. In Rome, love was not destiny, it was a craft.
And those who learned to manipulate the heart did so with roots and poisons as sharp as daggers. By the height of the empire, true romance had vanished beneath the weight of ambition.
Love was no longer about feeling, it was about control. Potions replaced poetry.
Sorcery replaced sincerity.
Roman lovers no longer wooed with letters or flowers, but with mixtures of poppy, wine, and snake venom. These concoctions dulled the senses, stirred lust, and made obedience seem like devotion.
Wealthy citizens paid fortunes for them, believing they could create eternal love. But the illusion never lasted.
Once the potion wore off, lovers turned cold or vengeful.
A senator's daughter once confessed that every man she loved eventually sickened. They loved me only when I fed them poison. She wept before her trial.
The Romans learned too late that passion cannot be bottled, nor loyalty brewed. What began as a search for love ended in paranoia and ruin. Their potions gave pleasure, but stole their souls. And so, in the city of reason and empire, love became the most irrational poison of all. In the grand villas of ancient Rome, where marble statues gleamed under torchlight, the most dangerous weapon wasn't the sword, it was the heart. The Romans were obsessed with mastering love, seeing it as both conquest and curse. They whispered to Venus for passion and prayed to Pluto for revenge. Between the two gods, poison became their answer. Some used it to bind lovers, others to destroy them. It was said that a woman named Drusilla crafted a potion that made any man fall for her butt if he betrayed her. The same potion slowly froze his heart. Her last lover, a general, drank from her cup before battle. He never returned, not slain by enemies, but by love itself.
Rome fell centuries later.
But its stories remained a civilization that believed love was a war to be won, even if it meant dying for it. Because in Rome, the heart was never safe. It beat not for affection, but for power, and power, as every Roman knew, was the most fatal poison of all.